Hello viewers, welcome to ekamiasacademy. Today we are going to discuss about an important topic that has recently shaken the headlines in the last year, that is with respect to one nation election. Similar to one nation one election, we also have something in news equivalently is one nation one code, that is with respect to uniform civil code. But here in terms of one nation one election, also called simultaneous election, today we are going to look into. So why we are going to look into this issue is, in the last year itself, in 2023 itself, government has formed a high level committee under former president of India, Ramnath Kovind. So 8 members were part of this committee. So these 8 members were asked to look into the aspect of simultaneous elections, so whether it is feasible for Indian democratic setup or not, and what are the major changes that needs to be made, so whether election commission, how it can amend its powers and all, and is there any constitutional amendment requirement, and also is there any requirement of ratification by the states, because this process will alter the election procedure even to the central, that is at the parliament level, and even at the state legislature. And also this committee was tasked to integrate this panchayat municipal elections also into the simultaneous elections. So with respect to this, and in case if the third question they have to look into is, for example, if there is hung assembly, that means no clear cut verdict is there, and or in case if the government has to resign because of no confidence motion passed, in all these events, okay, so how to address these events by simultaneous elections, these were given as the task before this committee to look into and to recommend the government in what way we can better implement this concept of simultaneous elections. In this regard, we are going to look everything about simultaneous elections. So what is actually simultaneous elections? Did we have the practice of conducting simultaneous elections anytime before in the independent history of India? Then we look into the international practices. We also will understand. Today, this committee has submitted its report. No, so almost it is a very big, like you can say, very big report. Almost 18,000 plus page report was recommended by this committee, and it also have consulted different political parties. Almost 60 and main parties were consulted. You can say, and, like 47 parties have discussed with respect to simultaneous elections, out of which 32 parties have supported the idea of simultaneous election and 15 parties have opposed. Okay, in this regard, we'll know much details about it. Before that, you need to know the committee was formed in September month, on 2nd September 2023, under Ramnath Kovind. Okay, so Ramnath Kovind, he was the former president of India. So he was the chairman of this committee. Along with him, 7 other members were there. Okay, so you just need not remember, but sometimes in state exams, these members' names also can be asked. So those also I have provided in the later part of the video, but just wait till then. And this committee worked almost for 190 plus days, and it has consulted in the process almost, as I told you, 47 political parties. Okay, they have discussed along with this committee, and 32 have supported the idea of simultaneous elections, and 15 parties opposed. Interestingly, there are national parties in India. How many national parties are there in India? Answer in the comment section. Among the national parties which are there in India now, so among them only BJP and BJP Alliance party, that is National People's Party in Meghalaya. Only these are the two national parties that have supported the idea of simultaneous elections. All other national parties recognized till date. So like Aam Aadmi Party, you can see BSP, Bahujan Samaj Party, you have CPI-M, you have, or you have Indian National Congress. So all these parties have opposed the concept of simultaneous elections. So we'll understand why these parties have supported. And BJP right from the beginning in its manifesto also promised this concept of simultaneous election along with one nation, one code, that is uniform civil code. So we'll look into what is the positives in if this simultaneous elections comes into reality, or what are the disadvantages why these parties have opposed. So what are the losses that these parties will suffer in case of conduction of simultaneous elections. These we'll look into. Okay, so detailedly we'll know, and what are the international practices along with the major recommendations. So you can see, understand, it is almost 18,000 page report. Okay, that means so much of recommendations they have given. Like they have suggested why there is a need actually. That means what are the drawbacks in the present system they have highlighted. They have referred to some international practices in various countries holding the simultaneous elections. Then they have said what are the economic, social, and political significance. That means in these three aspects, what will be the benefits if simultaneous elections will be conducted, and they also have discussed about what are the constitutional and legal aspects involved in conducting the simultaneous elections. In this way, they have given a detailed report. So before that, we'll understand what is the concept of simultaneous elections. So let's start with the points of discussion. You have what is the simultaneous elections. There is a topic, why it is a news about simultaneous elections in India. We'll know about the committee details and all. So then we'll follow the background of simultaneous elections. What are the international practices followed in various countries? What are the arguments in favor of simultaneous election? What are the arguments against, and how to synchronize? Okay, so what will be the challenges and how to remove those challenges and how to smoothen the process of simultaneous elections? These will look and will suggest the way forward. So this is a highly potential topic for prelims and mains also. So here this forms part of your GS paper 2 in mains in polity and governance section. So what is the main context of today's discussion is, high level committee headed by former President of India, Ramnath Kovind, has recommended simultaneous elections in India in its over 18,000 page report and submitted to the President of India, that is Draupadi Murmu. Okay, so this is a context. Now let us understand what is this one nation, one election or simultaneous election about. So simultaneous election is nothing but simultaneously if you hold elections to both Lok Sabha and state legislature, then that state legislature means assembly and Lok Sabha, because these are only two direct elections, no Rajya Sabha and state legislative council elections are indirect anyway. So if you are holding these direct elections simultaneously, then that is called simultaneous elections. But interestingly, this committee was not only recommending simultaneous elections to Lok Sabha and assembly, but they also have recommended simultaneous elections even to panchayats and municipalities. If you have remembered, Election Commission of India is having only the authority to conduct elections with respect to President, Vice President, Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, State Legislative Assembly, and State Legislative Council. And in case of panchayats and municipalities, they have no role. And panchayats and municipalities are there with the State Election Commission. No? But what happened now? Even they have recommended that within 100 days of conducting of elections to Lok Sabha and the State Legislative Assembly, the parliament elections can be conducted to the municipalities and panchayats. That is what simultaneous elections have proposed. So we'll look into what is this aspect in more detail. But what is the aim of simultaneous elections is to reduce the frequency of elections, because whenever the elections tomorrow also we are expecting the general elections for 2024 Lok Sabha will be announced. So immediately whenever the election commissioner will be sitting in front of the media announces the date of elections, immediately model code of conduct will be coming into picture. That means no new programs can be launched and no developmental works can be taken by the government of India. That means almost for 3 months or 3.5 months till the election process gets completed. Till then, these things cannot be continued. Okay, right? That is why this concept of elections have frequency has to be decreased, and also costs also have to be decreased. That is why the concept of simultaneous elections is proposed. Okay, so then we'll understand what is this committee about. Okay, so this committee was formed with 8 members. In state level exams they can ask these type of questions, so just remember the names of the persons. So it is chaired by Ramnath Kovind, former President of India, and current Home Minister, that is Amit Shah, and former Rajya Sabha leader of opposition Gulab Nabi Azad, former Lok Sabha Secretary General Subhash Kashyap, he is also a constitutional expert. Then former chairman of 15 Finance Commission, encasing, under whose presidency, like we have this FRBM Act also passed. Then senior advocate Harish Salve. Then, for like former Chief Vigilance Commissioner Sanjay Kotari, and also Law Minister Arjun Ram Meghwal was a special invite. Along with this, there is a secretary also, Nitin Chandra. Okay, so like this, they have been some members part of this committee, 8 members, to supervise and to recommend how these elections can be conducted. So now we'll understand what are the key recommendations or main highlights you need to know from examination perspective. So what did they recommend? They said on amending the constitution. Certainly when you are conducting elections to parliament and the state legislature, at the same time parliament, municipalities and panchayats, there needs to be some constitutional amendment now, because under 7th schedule there is division of powers between center and states, right? So with respect to amending the constitution, they said two things. That is, when Lok Sabha elections and state legislative assembly elections has to be held simultaneously, constitutional amendment is required. Okay, so they need constitutional amendment, but they don't require any ratification by the states. So ratification is not required. Ratification of states is one kind of special majority only, like at least half of the state legislatures have to ratify. In case if they have to give their consent, then only this will be put into implementation. Then second thing they said is, along with this Lok Sabha and Assembly elections, in case if you want to conduct municipalities and panchayats elections also within 100 days of conducting of Lok Sabha and Assembly elections, then this requires constitutional amendment. At the same time, ratification is also required by half of the state legislatures. Here, ratification is required. Here, ratification was not required. That is what the key recommendation they have made. Then they also said with respect to single electoral roll and single election ID. So they said for all three tiers of government. So three tiers of government, what you have here, you have central, that is Lok Sabha. State level, you have state legislative assembly, and the local level, you have panchayats and municipalities. No? For all the three tiers of government elections, there should be a single electoral roll. Single electoral roll and single election ID has to be given. For this, Election Commission of India is entrusted to prepare the electoral rolls in the main powers and function. So for this also, they require a constitutional amendment as well as ratification by the state legislatures. So this should be prepared by Election Commission of India along with consultation of state election commissioners or commissions. Okay, so this is the one of the recommendations they made. And in case of hung assembly, interestingly, they said hung assembly means in which situation we call it. So hung assembly means in case if there is no clear-cut majority or verdict given in favor of one party. That means if no clear-cut majority to form the government in that particular house, then it is called as hung assembly or hung house you call. So in that situation, or in case if there is passing of this no confidence motion, then what has to be done? That means they said again fresh elections have to be conducted. In case if no confidence motion is passed or hung assembly is there, again fresh elections should be conducted. So from the date of this particular occurrence of this particular thing till the reminder period only. Reminder period means, for example, consider normally Lok Sabha or assemblies will have 5-year tenure, right? So after 1.5 year, okay, after 1.5 year of existence, there is an no confidence motion in the house. Okay, at that point of time, so they can again conduct fresh elections, and the present newly elected government will be there only for the rest of the 3.5 year term, so that again within 3.5 years simultaneous elections will be held to Lok Sabha and state assemblies. No? At that point of time, there won't be any disruptions to the concept of simultaneous elections. This is what they have proposed. Only for the remaining term only, fresh elections have to be conducted. So this is what they have recommended. Then meeting of the logistical requirements. So logistic requirements means what? Normally, Election Commission of India has to ensure different things like with respect to manpower, EVMs, VVPATs, polling personals and police personals, security forces. All these have to be deployed for smooth and fair conduction of elections. No? So in all these things, it has to prepare in advance and estimate in advance, and it has to get the budget sanction from the central government. So this is what the key recommendations they have suggested to conduct the simultaneous elections in India. Then we'll understand what is the background. In India, we have this concept of simultaneous elections conducted in 1951. We have first general election, no? And we have 57 5 years again. Then we have in 62, then 67. That means for the first Lok Sabhas, okay, till fourth Lok Sabha, we have the same simultaneous elections conducted both for legislature of the central level and the state level. But what happened in 1967, because of the rise of regional parties, this whenever the regional parties or there, sometimes governments have fallen in advance only. So this disruption happened to the timeline of simultaneous elections. So from then, different periods of elections are conducted. That means different states are having in between the Lok Sabha terms only. So they're having their own tenure now. So to again reverse this back to the simultaneous election, this committee has recommended some things. Then what is the international perspective or practices means? In South Africa, they are conducting simultaneous elections for the both national legislature and the provincial or the state legislature. So in municipalities or panchayats will be conducted elections 2 years later after the simultaneous elections. This is what the practice they follow. In Sweden, for all the national, state, and local bodies, at the same time, on fixed date only, they're conducting elections. Not only these state countries, I mean, but you have Belgium also. Then you have Brazil also. These two countries also, along with South Africa, Sweden, these two are also following the concept of simultaneous elections. So they have referred to these committees and their practices in ensuring the smooth functioning of simultaneous elections. Then what are the points in favor? This reduces huge expenditure because subsequently many, like every year, if there is election in some part of India, it then definitely drains the exchequer, right? That is why, to reduce the huge expenditure, this one nation one election is favored. And according to the Election Commission of India's estimate, in 2019 general election to Lok Sabha, okay, so what is the estimation? It is almost 60,000 crore was spent to conduct the elections in 2019 to Lok Sabha. So this much of amount of money is not a small thing, right? So to save this money also, we need to go for this. This is one argument in favor. Then problem of frequent elections is leading to the imposition of model code of conduct. If model code of conduct is that, development will come to halt. Okay, this is a main challenge in conducting periodic elections. So that is why this is one argument in favor. Then to overcome the disruption of normal public life. So normal public life will be disrupted because the developmental activities administration will be in a, like you can say, abysmal state or in a flattened state. So that is why you cannot even have developmental projects happening. So it will definitely have an impact on the public life. Then free the crucial manpower. So crucial manpower means even be it police force or security force or the election and personnel, teachers, government employees, all they will be deployed in election duties only in case if there are elections like every 1-2 years once. So in case if you are having simultaneous elections, they will be free. Means once if the election duty is completed, for the next 5 years they can only be duty bound. So this is one another advantage. Then effective governance can also be delivered if you're not having any halt in the developmental projects or develop administration. You can definitely deliver better services to the people. That is effective governance. Then in Law Commission also have recommended that it raises voter participation in case if you are conducting simultaneous election. For example, consider a situation if you are an NRI, okay, and you are living in the state of Telangana. Sorry, you belong to the state of Telangana. So Telangana has as elections normally in the state assembly elections and Lok Sabha elections are almost like 1 year advance, you can say. So what happens here is, if you want to vote in the state legislative assembly elections, you have to visit the state and vote in 2023, for example. Again, in the general assembly Lok Sabha elections, you have to vote, means again you have to visit India. No? 2 times visiting means it will be a challenge for this person financially also. So he will try to like choose among the two situations, only one can be chosen by him. So in this situation, it all when you're conducting such simultaneous election, it raises the voter participation. Then it raises the focus of administrative machinery on the nation. So without any halt in the development, more focus can be on the administration. Then policy paralysis can be reduced. That means you need not focus on the electoral things all the time. So you can policy paralysis means there won't be any halt, and resources can be better utilized, and you can deliver service delivery very good in a very good manner. Then what are the points against this one nation one election? It hampers federalism, because federalism is the most important component of our Indian constitution, right? But in case if you are conducting simultaneous elections, and like what happens in conduction of simultaneous election is, for example, different states are going for elections different times in India now. So if you want to conduct, this committee is advising that 2029 will be the ideal state for conducting the simultaneous elections. Okay, let us think then. Then in case what happens to the state assemblies, those got elected only in 27-28 period, means they have to work only for 2 year and 1 year term. No? Will they agree to this particular situation instead of enjoying 5 years? If you have asked them, or if you have to ask them to go for again fresh elections within 1 year or 2 years term only, will they agree? This is again a concept against the federal principles. No, center is becoming powerful and it is curtailing or hurting the term of the state legislatures, right? So this is the main challenge. Then logistical challenges. Logistical challenges means coordinating the resources, whatever the schedules are there. So how to coordinate this will be a challenge. Then regional variations. Now you're conducting one nation, one election, but regional variations between different states. For example, if you see sensitive areas like Chhattisgarh, where Naxal movement is there and all, so those have to be focused more. So in those areas, you need to deploy more police force. But when you're conducting same elections all throughout the country, is it possible to focus more on the state of Chhattisgarh? like in the normal situation when the Chhattisgarh is experiencing state election or Lok Sabha elections, at that point of time you can focus more because other states will not have elections. Okay, so in that situation, how these regional variations can be answered well. That is what so one challenge before. And financial implications. What are financial implications? This process is definitely expensive process, no? Expensive, and it requires resources. So how to garner these resources and how to address these is one challenge. Then issue of dissolution, as I told you in this case, so the houses which are elected only before 1 year or 2 years, how to dissolve them? How will they agree? Or what constitutional setup you have to do in case to dissolve these assemblies before only. So then it becomes a disadvantage for the regional parties, definitely, because whichever the dominant national party is there, that will exert a domination on the elections, right? Normally, so state parties or regional parties, they may face disadvantageous position in case if the simultaneous election is implemented. So these are the challenges that we have. But here you need to remember how to synchronize. So now we have seen what are the challenges. So, but we also need to overcome those challenges, right? How to overcome these challenges is proposed by different commissions. We'll understand this. So, Law Commission in 2018 report, also in 107 70th report in 1999 also, it has recommended simultaneous elections. Okay, not only that. So, what did it recommend? So, amendments have to be made to the Constitution of India, to the Representation of People's Act, because with respect to qualification, disqualification, and also allocation of these things, and all these things were detailed by RPA only, because you know that. Okay, so there have to be amendments to the Representation of People's Act, and rules of procedure to the Lok Sabha and the state assemblies is also required. Then a law commission also have recommended at least 50% of the states should ratify. Just now we have seen, no, Ramnath Kovind panel also have suggested in two situations state ratification is required: in preparing single electoral roll for all three tiers of government, and also it said if you have to conduct simultaneous elections to the panchayats and municipalities along with Lok Sabha and Assembly, at that time also the state ratification is required. So these are the challenges we have. Then if you see, they even require amendments to such articles. What are these articles? You have 83. 83 is the duration of Lok Sabha. So, 5 years. So, this have to be altered in case if you want to implement. Then 85 is with respect to dissolution of Lok Sabha. So, in what grounds you can dissolve the Lok Sabha? There is something set already by the Constitution. So, these things have to be amended. Then 172 is with respect to duration of state legislature. 174 is dissolving the state assembly by the governor. So, these are the things which need to be amended along with 356. In 356, when president rule is imposed, okay, so how it happens. So whether fresh elections have to be conducted for the entire period or for the rest of the period, all these things have to be taken care before we try to implement the simultaneous elections. Then no confidence motion can be replaced with a constructive vote of no confidence through amendments in the Lok Sabha and Vidhan Sabha. So this is what initially the Ramnath Kovind panel have suggested, but now they have withdrawn this clause. What is this clause means? They have taken this clause from German provision, German constitutional provision. So what is this is, no confidence motion when you can introduce is only when some other party can prove that they have the confidence of the house. Means, for example, if there is no confidence motion against party X, okay, at that point of time to initiate this no confidence motion against the current government X, okay, another party, political party, has to already prove that they have the confidence of the house by passing the confidence motion, so that then only this no confidence motion against the party X or the government X can be initiated. So this is what initially they thought to implement, but they have withdrawn this provision. And anti-defection law also have to be diluted to prevent the, in case of hung assembly, what things can be done and how to strengthen it. In this aspect also some amendments are required. So then what is the measure that is suggested means, pilot project have to be conducted. So like a test, you have to conduct some in some pockets of the country. If these are successful, okay, if your pilot projects are successful, then implement these constitutional amendments and get the state ratification. And along with this, political consensus also required. Okay, only one party's wish cannot be fulfilled. There should be political parties consensus also, and public awareness, educate the people. So what the people's opinion is with respect to these things also have to be taken into consideration. So what is the way forward here? Definitely, this concept of simultaneous election will save the cost and also reduces the political disruption. But at the same time, there will be so many logistical, constitutional, and governance related challenges. So these things have to be used, these things have to be taken care in a well thought approach. So you have to think before, and you have to think before a lot, then only you have to implement this process so that there won't be any disruption to our democracy. And the main principle of Indian democracy is free and fair elections. No? So these things have to be clearly upheld. Okay, in that way we have to suggest the way forward. Then let's see the practice question given yesterday. This the first statement, you can see 36% of India's districts are classified as overexploited and critical by the Central Groundwater Authority. This is correct. Okay, then you have Central Groundwater Authority formed under Environment Protection Act. This is also correct. Okay. Then you have India has the largest area under the groundwater irrigation in the world. This is correct, and second statement is incorrect. Okay, so this is what you have to understand. So only 1 and 3 is the answer. It is not Environment Protection Act. The time per today's prelims question, you can see the President of India from time to time fix the number of election commissioners of the election commission on the basis of. So among the four options, from whatever the option that suits to the question given, answer in the comment section. Then what is the mains question given for practice? Examine whether simultaneous elections are better than frequent elections. Discuss what are the various challenges for conducting the simultaneous elections in India. Try to answer for the mains question given. So as we have come to the end of the video, today we have discussed about the concept of simultaneous elections. In what regard? As the Ramnath Kovind panel has suggested some recommendations, we have seen what are the key recommendations. So what are the pros and cons of having simultaneous elections, and what things need to get constitutional amendments and ratification, along with practice question given for prelims and mains. This is all with respect to this video. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.